That is Doug Kyed talking about the situation and the trade of Joe Milton yesterday. And when I hear those reasons that Doug Kyed is theorizing about, I would say those are the right reasons to dump Joe Milton, as they did. It was absolutely a dump yesterday. You think he stinks. You don't think he's all that good. You think he's not good enough to even make your team this coming summer. You think there's no way this guy is going to cut it with this team long term. We don't see him in our long-term plans. We don't think he's very good. We're going to look to trade him. And we're going to look to move him now. Reports have changed since yesterday. Schultz says they had a better offer on the table from someone.
They did not.
Bert Breer says they did not. Bert Breer says they had one offer. And you're saying they did not.
Bert. I've heard the same.
Yeah, did you check around with the 4 other teams that were rumored?
Nope, did not.
Or 5 other teams?
Talk to the people that I trust that they were.
Well, the Patriots are going to tell you there were no other offers.
No.
And that's why, I kind of give the.
I said this at the beginning.
Hairy eyeball at Bird or Zoe or anybody, you know?
You could give it, but I said this at the beginning of it. What if this report's not true? And to look at it, from a nutshell, why would if he wants to play so badly? I think he does actually have a chance to play in Dallas because I don't trust Dak. I think he goes down every year at some point. He might start 2 games down there. But if you really want to play, get to Pittsburgh. Send me to Pittsburgh. Send me to the Raiders. But then you're the Raiders and the contract that they gave Geno Smith yesterday. Jesus, but that's the rate for a starter. So you can't get holy crap about that contract because that's what starters get paid. But it's about if you really want the opportunity to play, you're never going to play here. Drake's going to be the starter. And when they went to Dobbs doesn't want to compete with this guy for the backup spot. You're looking at, okay, me as a journeyman, and this is the point of the Brian Hoyers of the world. If I'm going to go there, I'm going to be guaranteed a spot, right? First day on the roster, I'm going to be the backup, or I'm not coming there. I'm not coming there to compete with Joe Milton. And I just think there would ultimately fans get excited about these type of players. We've done this before, and Joe's an exciting player to watch. But the second something dips, it creates this struggle within the room. And I've been in that room. I'm a backup. I was a backup. Drew was a starter. There was a third guy. You were never going to beat me out, And that's just the way it's structured in the league. That's the way the league likes it. You're a new staff coming in. You had no problems with your starter. Not that Drake May would ever worry about this. But it's the external noise that you got to freaking deal with. This thing blew up yesterday, and it's 8 hours straight of Joe Milton radio. And I'm driving around last night, and I hear calls in saying, you should have probably traded him to the Giants to be their starter to move up. And what world are these people living in? There's nobody at the top of the draft looking at him as a starter, or one team looking at him as a starter. He was a 6-year guy in college. I heard Bert on this morning with Fred and Hardy and saying, he was in Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence's class coming out of high school. When he went to college and when he initially went to Michigan. He's an older guy. There's a lot of tape on this guy.
All right. But again, the only reason
skills are raw.
Only reason that it would be worth dumping him is because you don't think he's making the roster come August. That's it. That's the only valid reason. The one that Doug Kyed lays out. They didn't think enough of him that they thought, he might be getting cut in August. And so instead of cutting a guy in August, we're going to take a 5th-round pick. Does anyone believe that he was bad enough that he wasn't making the roster as the 3rd quarterback?
I don't believe that.
No. So who believes that? That's my next point in this.
But you could still cut him and bring him onto your practice squad and still develop him that way.
Right. So is it? So my question is it worth it just to give up on the guy now? What is the problem in keeping him around? Again, external noise. What noise?
I don't know.
Talk radio?
Potentially the agent trying to push him too.
Push who?
Him. The narrative he wants to play and he should play.
Push it all you want. Is he going to push that in Dallas? He's now playing behind the highest paid quarterback in the sport on an average,
which is
on
crazy.
an APY.
Which is another story.
I'm a football guy. I use APY now.
Right. Okay.
So,
all right. So this is a legit take.
That's a legit take.
Dak's making bank.
Legit take. Legit. APY highest in the sport. So,
yeah. But that's a veteran quarterback versus a guy that came in the same draft class as you, right? So it's probably Joe Milton's going to view that a little differently, I would think, than what he would with Drake May.
Maybe. But I don't understand. Is Dallas now concerned? Are they worried now in Dallas that there's going to be a guy who says he wants to play, and the agent's going to push the narrative that he wants to play.
No, Jerry's excited because I got a guy in the cheap because I'm paying this guy $65 million. So I got to back up.
I
really
don't
cheap.
think the return is
better than Trey
is
Lance.
good enough for them to say, we're giving up and we're not going to even look at this kid again. The return's not good enough. It isn't. The return, if it were a fourth, I'd feel very differently about this. Instead, it's pick 171, I think it is.
Yes, well, yeah.
It's not even a good pick. They picked him at 193. So they moved up 22 spots from a year ago, and they had to give up a seventh to do it. They basically just turned it back in for the pick they used on him. Based on, and so I asked this question. Again, I think we all agree that you shouldn't have the thought that he was so bad he would get cut, number one. But if they thought that, I guess it's different. Number two is, would you trade that sixth-round pick back in to get your original pick a year later, based on what he did and based on what you actually expect out of sixth-rounders? How often do you see a sixth-rounder start a game and look like a competent player? Again, third stringers, but looks like a guy who has some ability.
Not very often.
Why would you quit on that?
You can't.
Why would you quit on that?
You can't refute and go back and say he didn't play well in that game. Like
He didn't.
I called the game. I was like, holy crap.
I'm saying I didn't say that.
But I knew that thing was shredded. Like, they're going to win this freaking game and lose the number one pick. This is unbelievable. Like, they're playing him that day to lose.
Like, count it as a preseason game.
Right.
Which I do. And
then you go back to, I like, coming away from preseason, I felt like he showed you something in preseason to stick around.
And then he did it again later in the year.
Right, but then you go back and look at the preseason numbers and completed less than 40% of his passes. I'm like, really? It didn't feel that way calling the games coming out of preseason.
Eye test. What do your eyes tell you?
That he's out there and you're dealing with 10 guys on your team that aren't going to be there in 2 weeks.
Again, I don't believe in the player. I don't think he's a starter in the NFL. I think if you were to play him more, he would get exposed. But here's the thing. I don't understand the reason for quitting on the player. And if it has anything to do with them not wanting to hear noise or deal with an agent, that's stupid. And if it has anything to do with clearing the runway for Drake May, that is stupid too.
Well, unless Vrabel, real quick, unless Vrabel heard this, and Vrabel, like from the beginning, like, I want players here that want to be here. Like he said that at the beginning when he was hired. And if he's hearing stuff like the guy doesn't want to be here, he wants to go, then get out. I'm not dealing with this. And that's where, like, that's the biggest thing from yesterday too. Is like this all came down and came together at the owners' meetings. This is a Vrabel deal. This is he's calling the shots on this one. Because if Elliott drafted this guy, like, and everybody's criticizing Elliott's draft from last year, hey, man, I nailed the two quarterbacks. You know, and there's something that I showed you and that I got in the freaking sixth round that showed he could stick on a roster. Like, that's a feather in the cap to the GM to pick the guy or whoever selected him. That's all. A year later, and then all of a sudden you're just trying to send him off. Unless there's stuff inside that you're hearing that he walks around like he's a starter. I don't,
And they can't handle that? And Mike Vrabel can't straighten that out?
The start to next year begins Monday, and they didn't want him in a room.
In most cases, I guess I would agree. I do think, though, that there is.
What a bunch of cowards.
But if he's acting like that, what's his ceiling? What's Joe Milton's ceiling for this organization?
What's his ceiling is really steady backup.
Okay. And so if he is causing problems or there is confrontation or there is someone that's carrying himself as the starter as your backup quarterback, and that's the ceiling of the guy, why deal with it?
What are his options?
Why not put your young quarterback in the best position possible to be successful?
Why not just deal with it and tell him you're the backup, and if you think you're going to earn opportunities, then earn them. Go ahead. Play well. Have the game of your life in the preseason.
And if you're going to be
be the number two on the depth chart.
You're going to get released.
And be the number two on the depth chart, and you'll be the first guy up if you play really well if something happens to Drake May if he gets hurt. And then you'll have an opportunity in a real game. Quarterbacks get hurt all the time. I know we're not used to that because, well, Tom Brady played every freaking game outside of 2008.
Hey, but Matt Castle was ready to go when he went down, and he was not
right. And look at what it turned into for Matt Castle. A huge contract in Kansas City.
Hey, and I played in yesteryear, but I was a fourth-round pick, and I lasted 9 years with one team being a backup because you accept your role and you understand it. And you show enough every year to say you're warranted to be here and be the backup.
Joe Milton, what leverage do you have? Be quiet, do your job.
Right, that's why the case,
shut up. Your guy was picked 193. Right. You don't have a good guy in your hands in terms of an asset in the league.
I was told
earn your job.
The team did not do him a solid. That's a ludicrous opinion. That they did him a solid to move him where he wanted to go.
Didn't happen.
Did not happen.
That's because they know they look bad on this. That's why they're saying these things. They look bad and they know it.
Then let's hear from the other teams that are interested.
They're not. Yeah, no, they're going to
give
come
an
out and
offer.
issue a press release on a 6th-round draft pick of a year
I'm
ago.
not saying issue a press release. Just give me a Jordan Schultz report on that. Like, here's the team that offered, and they offered actually a 5th or 4th.
What's going to help Drake May the more? A veteran quarterback, Zoe?
The veteran quarterback.
Or a
See, that's the thing
talented
is Drake
second-year quarterback?
Drake doesn't get anything from him from the processing standpoint, like to help him when he comes to the sideline. Hey, this is what I saw.
I'm going to tell you what I really don't like.
What's that?
Is how this looks for Drake May. How they make this look for Drake May by trading Joe Milton. Ben Volen had a little item on this, too.
Yeah, he's super competitive, and he doesn't need a kick in the ass like to keep Joe Milton around. This is not Brady and Garoppolo. They're totally night and day different scenarios.
Oh, you wouldn't have said Brady needed a kick in the ass either. We would have never said that, but it did help him.
Right. Pissed him off. We knew Brady was pissed off about the pick. That's all.
That's Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, talking about the trade of Joe Milton. This is obviously the narrative that's being pushed. He was going to create noise. Oh, no. Oh, no. A 6th-round pick of a year ago is going to get noisy. And Mike Vrabel, the intimidating force that is Mike Vrabel, couldn't keep a 6th-round pick in check? What? You want me to buy that? Who the hell's buying that? I'm not buying it. Oh, he's going to get noisy. Guy who's played in one game ever against third stringers is going to get noisy. Noisy. Mike Vrabel can't handle that noise in his locker room. He can't put a kid in his place and say, kid, you're the backup. He's the Ferrari. You're the Toyota. Okay? Like, no offense, Toyota. We love Toyota. I'm just saying, not a Ferrari, not a sports car. You know? Good, reliable transportation.
They're
is what
different.
that is.
Start every
That's
morning.
what a backup is.
They're different.
Right? They're just different. But you know what I mean? Give me a break. Mike Vrabel couldn't handle that. I don't buy it. I think it's such nonsense. And I think they didn't like the guy or they didn't think he was very good. And those would be better reasons than he was going to create noise. Stop it. I don't even like this player. That's the thing that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm astonished.
It's such bull crap. I hate bull crap.
It's created this much of a stir. I can't believe the amount of attention on it. Like, is it that slow a time right now?
I don't know. I think he can handle it, though. I think they looked at it and said, why do I have to deal with it?
Yeah,
What's
just
the
not
point of dealing
doing
with
it.
it?
So people love backup quarterbacks.
Yep.
You're proof of it.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, I
Okay?
tell you that.
But listen, the love for backup quarterbacks in New England, it's why we're here every day. But
Yeah,
I love
buddy.
you.
I love you too.
I love you.
It's nice.
I love you. Can I give a hug? Opening day hug?
It's getting weird.
Get up. That's good.
I love this guy. Get this on camera. I love this man. I love him.
5 more years. Let's
Thank
go.
you. Good job,
5
team.
more years.
Thank you.
Come on.
We loved Scott Zolak. We loved Michael Bishop. Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy can
we
throw it
loved
85
Matt
yards.
Castle in 2008.
Sure did.
We didn't like him in the preseason, but damn, when he got going, he was good. We just have a thing.
What you don't love-
we have a backup quarterback fetish.
What you don't
here
love,
in New England
but
is
what
what we have.
What you don't love
All
is
right?
the steady Eddie Journeyman type
Zappy.
backups. You know, like
Zappy fever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing we do.
and Mac Jones couldn't mentally deal with it. Like it killed him.
I
But
thought
like
I thought Zappy sucked too.
these two guys. But I think Milton and May are at such different levels than Zappy and Jones.
I know, but Joe Milton's got viral clips, man, that you see on Instagram. Him throwing
Milton's
80
got more
Bazooka
talent.
Joe.
Joe Milton's got more talent in his pinky than I got in my whole body. Like that. That's the tease of it.
I
But-
know. That's why people are into it.
I
It's
know.
honest. People have been calling us about this guy all offseason.
But the reality is, like I said, he's been in college for 6 years. He barely was drafted in the pros. There's a ton of film on the guy. There's a lot of people that evaluate football that know football that said, yeah, it's really not going to work out. That's where we're at. But there are also people that feel he should be starting and trading for like the Giants' number 3 pick. You people are nuts.